This episode is sponsored by Pattern. Shopping for disability insurance as a physician is a complicated and arduous task. It takes a lot of time and can definitely cause headaches. Pattern simplifies disability insurance for busy doctors. You get quotes, you can compare prices, and you can buy risk-free. Get started today by requesting your free quote at patternlife.com. That's patternlife.com. You can find the policy that's right for you, and your income is protected with Pattern. All Global Circle. Medical laboratories are always on the lookout for healthcare professionals who are willing to give their opinion on the latest medical breakthrough. All Global Circle offers healthcare professionals the opportunity to shape the medical industry by participating in surveys that are relevant to their specialty. On allglobalcircle.com, you can receive up to $50 of sign-up bonuses. On top of this, you'll get paid for participating in studies and giving your expert opinion. So sign up today, impact millions of lives, and check out All Global Circle. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Happy Doc. I'm super excited, always excited to record an episode. We're going to get right into this one with Dr. Renee Matthews. She has a show called the Ask Dr. Renee Show. And I'm very excited to record, but also, at the same time, we're in a climate right now, which is very difficult politically, racially, and there's so much to kind of parse out the journey of being a physician, parse out all of this process that we're all going through as a society. And so we're going to get to all of that and more with Dr. Renee. So Dr. Renee, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Dr. Renee. I am obviously a medical doctor, but I don't practice. I talk about health and media. So TV, radio, print, and online media. And then I turned around and I started doing public relations for other physicians so that they can get in the media as well. And as you mentioned, I do have the Ask Dr. Renee show, which is an online show. And the mantra of the show is just, I want to motivate and inspire people to live the life they deserve. That's my mantra, live life you deserve. That's my hashtag. And I think everyone should do it. And the Happy Doc sounds like exactly what I am trying to help all my clients to be.
100%. I mean, your mission, absolutely aligned. I definitely believe that every human has a potential and we all deserve to have access to achieve that potential. And, we're definitely going to go down that train of thought in a second for sure. But I'm really curious, a lot of physicians feel like there's this really linear path to going through the process. And for you, you went down the media path. So I'm really kind of interested about what took you towards that direction. What was that story?
So really it started when I was a child. I watched Good Morning America. The medical correspondent at the time was Dr. Nancy Snyderman, who many people probably remember. Most recently, she was on the Today Show. She had broke her quarantine during Ebola or something and basically lost her job. And I have not seen her in media since. But that's who I saw. And I just wanted to be her. I wanted to be the doctor on Good Morning America. And, my mom, as I was growing up, obviously, there's no book that's written or class to take to do that. All there is to become a doctor. And so my mom's like, well, you should just focus on practicing because, we honestly didn't know anyone that did that personally. So that was my focus. My fallback was I was going to do OBGYN. And right out of medical school, before I could even get a residency, I actually got a radio show on satellite radio. And I was like, well, if I could do this, then clearly if I work hard enough, I probably could get where I'm trying to go. So fast forward to 2020, now I'm in 45,000 doctors' offices across the country on the waiting room TVs and on the tablets that they hand you while you're waiting in the exam room. My show's called Out of Office with Dr. Renee. And I sit down with another physician and we talk about their specialty. They're like 2-3 minute episodes just to give the patients a little information that'll help them with their visit, hopefully. So I'm not on Good Morning America yet, but I never did see that I would be doing what I'm doing. But so now I've been on different radio shows. I've been on Sway in the Morning. I've been in a lot of national publications, Essence Ebony Magazine. And then I've written for a lot of huge online publications.
I love that. And, again, it's just, I think one of the things I love to talk about in this podcast is that there's such a linear thinking in terms of where your career goes. Everyone says there's only a few ways to do it. And part of that fulfillment, part of that happiness is that creativity to think in different ways, to take your career and stretch in different opportunities. And so I'm really excited to hear that from you. If someone was interested in like starting their media journey, like how did you go again? Because I'm like really interested about this. How did you go from just like finishing medical school and then hopping over to a radio show? Because like in my head, I'm like, that's nuts. Obviously, it's a little different times.
Right.
That's crazy. Like, how did you get there?
So first of all, I started my entertainment company in 2005. So this was 2006-ish, maybe 7, something like that. Actually, maybe it was like 2007. The entertainment company, I knew that I always wanted to own an entertainment company. I wanted to throw concerts. I liked being backstage at concerts. I went to Michigan State University, and my sister and I were part of the concert promoting group. And so we liked it. And I said, well, I'm going to practice medicine. You become an engineer. And once I get my practice going, we'll have this business and this is what we'll do. And so I ended up going to a conference here in Chicago, the National Association of Black Female Executives in Music and Entertainment. And I was like, you know what? This looks like something I should go to. It's here in Chicago. I live in Chicago. So I went, and sure enough, I made a lot of great contacts. And that's where I met my first client, and we started the entertainment company. So basically for me, it started with that. And then I just translated it all into medicine. So I started out with rappers, singers, actresses. I had a model that was a client at the time. I started out with that. And because I knew how to navigate that, I just started navigating it for myself and then for other physicians. But anybody was interested, I tell everyone, and actually I think you saw the Leverage and Growth Summit. Yep. I tell everyone research. So if you want to be on a TV show, you need to clearly write down the names of the people that produce the show, and you need to look them up and contact them. If you want to be in a magazine, you need to see who wrote the article and try to reach them. You need to read who's the editor of that section of the article, editor of the section of the paper, whatever it is. So it's really research, and then just pitching yourself to say, this is what I want to talk about. And I think your readers, listeners, viewers would be interested. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, you make it sound simple, but I think part of it, like, I'm hearing your stories, you had that dream, right? You had that vision. And so it's sort of like, there's some like pool there, like a natural like pool to mix that entertainment and medicine. I heard this one, like, it's like a pseudo statistic. It's not real, but like someone said, like, entrepreneurship is always 5 years ahead, at least ahead of medicine. Right. So like, I feel like you almost got into the scene in that realm. So then when you went to medicine, you're like, oh, I can just apply this to medicine. And I definitely see that, right? I feel like a lot of creative people, artists, entrepreneurs, people that are really go-getters, they're doing stuff that's super avant-garde, but in medicine, it's super conservative.
Yeah.
And everyone's concerned, and for some really good reason, right? But I just love that you mixed it up and you made it your own. That's awesome.
Yeah. I often say, like, what happened was my business coach was the one that's like, you should really work with doctors. I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, because you're unique that you know how to do that and you know how to navigate that world. Most physicians have no idea how to get themselves on TV, radio, whatever. And I said, oh, okay. And so that's when I started working with doctors.
Yeah. And honestly, it's a fantastic demographic because these are some of the most knowledgeable, kind-hearted, hardworking people. I mean, like you know how it was when you're in training. You work with geniuses every day. Mm-hmm. And I often think about it like there's all these hidden geniuses in the world that could do so many big things, and then they're just kind of in their practice.
Yeah, people will confine you and tell you, and Bishop T.D. Jakes said, "Don't put a period where God put a comma." So people are like, "But you're a doctor. Why are you the manager of a rapper?" Because I am.
That's what I do.
This is what I do. And, and they were like, but you do this and you do that. I said, exactly. And, especially in the times that we're in now, people are now realizing you have to have multiple streams of income. including doctors, especially with what we've just gone through. You saw how many physicians lost jobs, lost pay, and obviously that has to be made up somewhere.
Yeah.
And, and I know a lot of single doctors that are going through this. And I'm like, oh my God, because they're single. It's not like, who's the other income? There is no other income. It's them. And their mortgages and their, car notes, everything still has to be paid, even though the hospital has decided to cut their pay tremendously.
Absolutely.
So it's really important in this day and age that you have multiple streams of income, whether they be passive or something you do actually physically have to do. You need to be, you need to expand your reach and do some more things. I'm sure you've seen a lot of doctors are coming out with really amazing products.
Absolutely. And it's funny you're talking about this because I literally just wrote this stream of consciousness about making money and products and those types of things. So a lot of people aren't well versed in that. And I think it's definitely an important topic in terms of happiness, just because we're down this kind of rabbit hole here. What are some things, you mentioned entertainment, all that stuff, but what can physicians do to create these different streams? Like what strategies have you seen that certain people take?
I've seen a lot of physicians doing coaching, even if it's health coaching. A lot of them, I had a client that went and she got licensed or certified to become a life coach. So, because honestly, her commute was 2 hours each way. She had a family. It was brutal. And plus, she didn't feel valued at the clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So she became a life coach. And then there's authors. You can write books. Because obviously, like you said, we have a lot of information that people want.
Mm-hmm.
Write books, podcasting, create products.
Yep.
And those products could be courses. You could be teaching people how to handle anxiety. Are you a psychiatrist? You'd be the perfect person to teach people how to handle anxiety. It's an online course. You put it on your website. It's self-taught. You give them access to send you emails or something and you get paid. I mean,
100%.
There's all sorts of ways to make income. And my whole thing is I want you to trade dollars for hours. I do not want you to spend more time away from your family. I want you to spend more time with your family, but make more money.
100%. And I was when I was doing that whole stream of consciousness yesterday, there's things that are time dependent. You're trading time for money, right? And then there's things that are time independent, right? So writing a book, for example, is a great thing. Yes, you're putting in that 100, 1,000, whatever amount of hours it's going to take to write it and edit it and all those things. But once you got the physical or digital book, you're not doing anything else.
Exactly. Except for collecting your money.
Right? So you're getting the dividends off of that. So for example, if you have this digital copy, it's completely free essentially, but then you sell 1,000 and let's say it's $10, that's $10,000 that came out of nothing.
Exactly.
But not many people. So not many people think like this. And the reason I'm, talking about it with you right now too, is just because if you're not aware, your brain's not even going to think about it. And if your brain doesn't think about it, you're not even going to have the possibility of even imagining what that could look like, And
I think also with doctors, most of us are type A personalities. So we need to know all of the answers. When you do stuff like this, you can't know all the answers. You just have to have many questions and keep going, even if you don't know what it's going to look like at the end, because who's going to buy the book?
Yeah.
Don't worry about that today. Let's try and think of what are we going to write the book about?
Yeah.
Well, I need a publisher. Well, really, you don't have to have a publisher, and people just don't. You really have to think outside the box, or you need to hire a coach to help you to think outside the box. And also don't have paralysis analysis. Please do not sit there and overanalyze it so much that you never move.
Yeah, 100%. I heard one person talk about entrepreneurship. It's like jumping out of an airplane without a parachute, or maybe you're with a parachute and you're scrambling to figure out what to do. And you're and you're falling down and you're facing all these challenges. And at the same time, you're figuring it out as you go. And then hopefully you're able to pull on whatever you need to pull on and the parachute goes. But that's the journey you have to take. Otherwise.
I love it. I agree. That's the way it is. I love it. There's days that I'm mad as hell, but there's more days that I'm very happy because I go to bed when I want to. I wake up when I want to. Family member gets sick and needs me, I can travel. I can work from wherever. I have my computer and my phone and my tablet. And so I can travel. I see my family now more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
I had a day job. One, obviously, you only have so much vacation time.
Yeah.
Whereas now I can just go and so I'm connecting better with my people because I see them regularly. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's wonderful. I love it. It's not for everyone, I've always said, but for those that it is for, it can be great.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of time freedom and the ability to, choose. And again, it's not for everyone. Some people want it really structured all the time, and I definitely see the value in that. But having that opportunity to choose instead of having everything forced on you is definitely something that a lot of people are looking for. You mentioned all these different types of projects that people can do. What are sort of the projects that you're taking on right now, you're excited about, that you're developing?
So years ago, I did voiceover lessons. I did do my demos, and I just never got any gigs. So recently, I actually applied to one, and it's an on camera. It's not even just a voiceover; it's an on camera gig, and so it looks like that's going to pan out. So I'm very excited about that. I work with blackdoctor.org. I'm a host for them. So
Mm-hmm.
they do a lot of Facebook Lives. Like, I can't even count how many they do. But they do a whole lot of Facebook Lives. And so I host several of them every month for them. So I book them, basically produce them, everything. Then what else do we have? I have a live streaming course that is available on my website. That I taught it live, and so it was recorded, and then now it's on my site. Mm-hmm. And I update it, and I have a private group on Facebook that my students can go in, and we can share videos or whatever we want. They can ask me questions, whatever. My YouTube channel, I am this close to getting paid by YouTube, and I'm very excited about that.
Nice.
I've been working very hard at that. I had made the decision in January I was going to do it this year anyway, but then the pandemic happened. And so now the Ask Dr. Renee show was a weekly show, but now that we're home, I've been shooting more shows. I have 2 huge shows. Next week I'm West Indian, so I have a soca artist. Soca is like the music of my generation, basically. Mm-hmm. It is an offshoot of Calypso, if you're familiar with Calypso.
Okay.
Mr. is going to be on my show on Tuesday. He's a Grenadian soca artist. And then on Thursday, I have Chef Carla Hall. They used to host the Chew.
Wow. I love how diverse you are. You're just doing so many things. I like the fact that you're getting all these different influences, medicine, art, the voice stuff. Like, it's great. I love it. That's creativity for you, right?
Now, I was supposed to have a book written by last month. It didn't happen, but I'm not going to bang myself up about it. But yeah. It's a book about my life. I have severe asthma and allergies and food allergies. And so last month, in case you didn't know, was Allergy Awareness Month.
I did not.
And so, May is Allergy Awareness Month, Asthma and Allergy Awareness Month. And so that was the goal, was we were going to get the book out so that in May, I can do a press run. Well, we weren't leaving our houses anyway. So I was like, I just got real stagnant, and I just did not.
Hey, it is what
Maybe
it is.
Next May.
Absolutely. It's all a process. I mean, I think the big thing, I've learned through the journey myself is forgiveness, like forgiveness times 1,000, because, you wish you could have unlimited energy. You wish you could do all the projects. You wish you could go out there and have 10 TED Talks and whatever, but we're humans. So it's.
Yeah. And speaking is the other thing that I said in January, I was going to do more of. So then when we got stuck at home, I'm like, oh Lord, but I have actually spoken at 5 conferences thus far. Another one is tomorrow, and then I have another one on June 20th.
Wow! Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing. I mean, look,
all of this from my house.
you're living proof that there's just diverse options. And the one thing I was going to say too is, again, make lemons out of lemonade. We can't control the pandemic is here. COVID happened, but how are we taking personal responsibility to create opportunities for ourselves, right? And I know this 100%, but how are you making those, how are you making lemonade out of the lemons right now that you're handed?
I mean, I think I just stayed really engaged with my community, and I said, as soon as I realized we're stuck at home, and I figured out quickly that video, well, I already knew video was the thing anyway, but I knew that people were going to be watching more things because they couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
What choices do you have? Zoom meeting, and then you can only watch so much on the television. You're going to run out. And so, YouTube has been, the numbers have been ridiculous. I started out with 400 views a month in January. And in April, I think I had 39,000.
Wow.
So
huge.
So I was like, no, if I give them content, they'll watch it. And sure enough, that's what happened. I was like, okay, let me just keep going. And same thing, Black Doctor, they always did Facebook Lives, but we just went on steroids with them because once again, people are at home. They have 2.1 million likes on their Facebook page.
Wow.
Those people are sitting there waiting for us to go live. So I get, easily 15,000 views on a video I do there, right out the gate. And then of course it's, it gets replayed how many times, who knows, right?
Yeah.
So I knew that video was going to be really important to me because I do video. I knew that was what I could do to make certain that I came out of this with more than what I came in with.
Yeah.
Because I am a publicist and also an influencer, blogger and stuff. Pitching is what I do. I pitch my clients. Now I have developed myself in such a space that usually people come to me and it's great. I don't have to pitch myself. But now that I have these new huge numbers with video and YouTube, I said, okay, well now there's some other places that I want to, other brands I want to work with. I can now pitch them huge numbers plus what I already had with my social media following and see what money we can make that way,
Yeah. And you bring up a great point about, and this is something I can't, it's hard for me to explain to people, which is like I call it the positive snowball effect of if you're constantly putting yourself out there and you're doing things that are aligned with your heart and what you'd like to do in the world, and you keep doing that, it's like, oh, I met this person 3 months ago. And then they randomly hit you up and they start talking to you about something. And you're like, oh, I should go do that. And then you go to this event and then you meet 10 other people that are doing something. And then those people, it's just a constant, you just don't understand this like invisible ladder or something that's just like, do more. And it's hard to explain, but when you live it, you understand it from just an experiential sort of way. And it's great to see that. One thing you mentioned that I'm interested in, more so selfishly, but anyone listening too can also get something out of it, is you mentioned live videos, live content. How do you find that live is more effective? Like why live as opposed to, some other mediums?
So, the algorithms change all the time on our friend Facebook and other platforms. And so with Facebook, back in the day, if you had a picture in your post, it was, golden. Well, then it was, if you had a video in your post that was, was uploaded to Facebook, not using a third party, golden. Well, then if you went live on Facebook, oh my God, they would just, show everybody your stuff. So that is why live. Now I've heard the algorithm is changing a bit. And so posting recorded videos might actually help you out. But I will tell you this little secret. People pay me a lot of money for this.
I'm ready.
That watch party feature on Facebook is better than sharing videos. But you can only do watch parties on videos that were live.
Gotcha.
So if you do a watch party, you will probably see an increase in views in your live videos than if you just do a share. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's great. And again,
I'll tell you, I just found out like 2 weeks ago that YouTube live streaming on YouTube, they give more eyeballs to that too. Because I started out doing it. Then I started this recent time in January. Well, this year I started and then I stopped because I'm watching my numbers and I could upload a video and do better than I was getting with live. But I watched this video a few weeks ago that was like, so how do you get that last 1,000 hours you need or whatever? And I said, okay. And that's what they said. And so I was like, okay, I'm still not quite sold on this, but we're still going live. So,
I mean, look, again, we only have so many hours. So it's a kind of a necessary evil, but you have to understand what is going to let you attract, the biggest audience and allow people to consume. And again, I'm a big believer. If you're putting out positive content, good information. You're being honest and authentic about it. I'm saying you and I are on the same team here. So it's like, if you're putting out legitimate, effective information that is going to impact people positively, why not? Right. Why not attract and put out what to these bigger audiences? So that's super helpful. I will pay you with my gratitude. Thank you. So let's get to the meat of the discussion. It's just so important right now. Obviously, what happened to George Floyd was terrible. It's incited an incredible amount of passion in society along, Black Lives Matter movement. It's definitely forced me as a white male to intrinsically look inside and understand the biases in my life. And I just had a conversation, not to get into details, with a patient, and he was telling me about all of these rules you need to know when a cop approaches the vehicle.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so again, he talked about, I was like, I just didn't even know. It's just not in my ethos. It's not in my consciousness. So let's talk about it, not just as just a Black physician but what is it like right now in Black culture? What is it like right now? How has it been? Just tell me your thoughts about everything.
So, I understand the protest. It makes perfect sense to me. I can't believe, but I also think it's because of the pandemic, because we are all sitting at home and nobody was at a movie. They weren't at they weren't at a ball game. They weren't at, a concert. Everyone was sitting here. And I think that's why now is happening, because everyone saw. And then the video, I have not watched the video. I've seen pictures, but I've never watched the video. But because visuals really mean something, and I know there's been a lot of cops that have killed people, but never before, I don't think, have we seen the cop and the victim. We saw them in the same frame. And so usually we saw what he looked like after the fact or before, but we never saw, because it was a body cam maybe, or, or it was dark. But this time we got that whole visual, and I think that is why it is alarming through the whole country. A lot of Black people are creating databases, so we know exactly what companies are for us and what companies do not want our money. You can do any market research and see Black people spend a whole lot of money in this country. Without it, the country would really suffer.
Yeah.
And so that is why it's so important for us to speak with our dollars, because it will affect change, which I honestly believe that's the other reason why things have happened the way they have. Rodeo Drive was taken out. Come on now. You know what I mean? The Magnificent Mile here in Chicago was hit hard. So I think that money, affects change. It was horrible that George Floyd died in the same week that Breonna Taylor, I think that was the same week in Louisville, Kentucky. And then the Ahmaud Arbery, I think they actually went to trial recently. So all of it was like, just crashing down. And there's so many more. Here in Chicago, we had Laquan McDonald that was shot senselessly by the police. And it was like, he accidentally shot him 16 times. I'm like,
wow.
Okay. So that's our thing now. Like I said, our thing now is really, we need to, unfortunately, a lot of us are having these conversations. I don't have a problem. There are a lot of us that are tired, which is rightfully so. And then, a lot of them say, should I be the one educating my white friends? Well, no, that's not your job. It's not your job. And there's lots of reading lists that have been handed out to, if you don't want to talk about it, then tell them to go read this or go look at this or something, Yeah. I just posted a video on my YouTube channel. It was an old episode of Oprah from the 92 Rodney King riots. And she had Jane Elliott, who I think is the most amazing woman on this planet. She is 87. I'm like, please, Lord, let her stay around for another 100 years. But Jane Elliott is a white woman who understands the Black experience. And she does this wonderful experiment, blue-eyed, brown-eyed experiment, to help white people to understand what we go through on a daily basis every day of our lives, all day. And their uncomfortability for 1 or 2 hours really is enlightening to them, because they are so mad. And, if you watch the video, you'll see some lady said, I just don't understand, we did tolerate this. And so Jane said, excuse me, to the Black people in the audience. She said to them, now, how many of you want to be tolerated, or do you actually want to be celebrated and appreciated and valued? Right. Exactly. I don't really care to be tolerated. I just want to be valued for what I have to bring to the table. And then you have companies that claim diversity because they have 2 Black people that work there, but the 2 Black people are never listened to. So then you're not being inclusive.
Right.
They're just sitting at the table taking up space. So I think that this has really shown a light, like you said, on you and on people. It's really put a mirror in front of them to think about, what are we doing? My sister is a chef, and Bon Appetit is one of her apps that she watches on her Roku all the time. And apparently they weren't paying any of the Black people in the video.
Wow. And
they also admitted to the fact that Black people would submit articles and they would put someone else's name to them and not pay them.
Oh.
So, and then their editor-in-chief colored himself in brown face and said he was Puerto Rican, so he lost his job. And but they literally came out and stated all these things online, on Instagram. Wow. He was telling me about these posts. So a lot of companies, I think, are realizing, hey, this isn't going to fly anymore, and figuring out we've got to change something here, because people are not sitting down. Sephora is now going to give more shelf space to Black-owned businesses.
Amazing.
There's a lot of black makeup lines that they could have taken in, but they didn't. And it's not that I can't go into Sephora and buy makeup. There's not makeup that is made by people that are like me. There's makeup, Mac is in Sephora, but Mac is not by, not owned by a Black person. So Sephora is giving a percentage of their shelf space. I mean, a lot of places are starting to see. I don't know if you know, Netflix has a new channel, a new thing now, Black Lives Matter. Yep. I mean, and it's really great because Black History Month is in February. It's the shortest month of the year. It is so crazy to me.
I never thought about it like that. Yeah.
Obviously, I live Black history every day, all day. But that was the only time when I was in school that we ever talked about it too. And that was just weird to me. And I'm like, I hope that that'll change for the schools too.
Yeah.
But I think that there's some of us, like me, I'm positive Patty, all my friends say. So I think that change is going to happen very soon. Other people are like, I still don't think it'll be in my lifetime. And I'm like, okay. But I think that they're being forced to do something now.
Exactly. I almost think like the narrative is so positive for Black Lives Matter that even if you were partially racist or you don't believe that Black people deserve equal rights and all those things, it looks so bad that you have to do something, even if secretly you're not changing your bias and all that stuff. So, I mean, it's terrible to say it like that, but honestly, the narrative is there. And then I think you just got to we need to really, as a group, use that to actually start to equalize as much as possible. You can't really take life and make it an equal playing board. There's always going to be imbalances but to try to, like you were talking about with Sephora, get more, Black makeup in, and to kind of those individuals that are creating those products to highlight them is obviously very important. The one thing that was coming into my mind as you're speaking a lot is, from my psychological perspective, is the idea of the microaggression and the micro traumas. And, we in psychiatry and psychology, we talk about PTSD and we talk about the idea of like a really bad event, and that event changes your life. But something that's harder to explain, you're talking about the experiment, is this idea of a trauma that is kind of constant and a reality that's constant. And so the people in it don't realize that it's even there.
This is why we've said, and unfortunately in the Black community, mental health is, I think, a huge issue.
Correct.
It's just an issue that's never spoke about.
Right.
And, you're crazy if you're going to a psychiatrist, and no one wants to be labeled crazy. So therefore they don't go, but you need help.
Right.
But that is something that we have said that most every Black person should probably go and sit down and talk to someone, because whether you realize it or not, you have had all these things happen to you, but it's so second nature that you don't think about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there was one of the things that Jane even mentioned about, she was like, how many of you would like to take your skin off, but you can't go? There's no place for you to go. Every place in this country, you are going to encounter racism.
Right.
And I was like, exactly. They said, whether it be at work or, walking outside your house, it's somewhere. So if you've experienced that your whole life, I think you do sort of become numb to it and you don't react as crazy. Like, I've heard that people have been, bombing these Zoom meetings. Thankfully, it's not happened to any that I've had.
Yeah.
But and I've heard that they're, coming in saying the N-word and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, if someone did mine, I don't think I would freak out because
Yeah.
I've been called it so many times.
Yeah.
So I would just be like, oh my God, we need to either end this or get rid of them, but I wouldn't freak out.
Yeah.
I had a friend the other day, though, she was shaking for 2 hours because her event was destroyed by them. But like I said, I grew up with all white people. My school, it was me. I have a younger sister. We might have been 2 of the less than 1% in most of our schools. There were Black people in my junior high and 5 in my graduating class in high school.
Wow.
So I am accustomed to being around them. I am totally accustomed to people calling me out of my name. Unfortunately, the first time I remember, I was 5. I will never forget it. And I thought it was a term of endearment because, I was a happy-go-lucky child. I skipped calls and smiled all the time. And so I came home so excited to tell my mom that this blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy called me a nigger. And my mother was like, what?
Oh, my gosh.
This wasn't the reaction that I thought she should have. And she's like, I have to go to the school. And I'm thinking, for what?
Wow. It's crazy. The one thing that I was thinking about, earlier, talking about kind of this systemic racism and all of these issues that come on, is when it comes to being successful in life, you have to have the belief that you can achieve. And I think about that, again, on the systemic level, if you're constantly being told you're less than, your mind is programmed to never believe you're really good enough. And so there's just so much.
We have the problems we have.
Right.
Why we have the prison system filled with Black people. This is
right.
Why everything just trickles down to that. I tell people all the time, not everyone is as strong as I am. I had a lot of people tell me I couldn't become a doctor. I had a lot of people tell me that I wasn't going to be able to do what I wanted to do. I was going to just have to be okay with going to the office every day and seeing patients.
Yeah.
But because my parents raised me to believe that I really could do what I wanted to do, I've been able to do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But there's other people that if you tell them that enough, you just killed somebody's dream and they're not going to, become their full potential.
Right. Right. And you said right there, it sounds like you had that kind of upbringing at home and the positive voices that could tell you could achieve, right? If you live in a broken home, if you live in a neighborhood that's really rough, if you're around a lot of violence, if you're around a lot of people that are putting you down, calling you the N-word, making you feel like total crap, the programmed words in your mind are, I'm not good enough, I'll never achieve. And as you and I know in the entrepreneurial world and the business world, there's so much about affirmations. There's so much about positive mindset, positive attitude, growth mindset. And it makes me feel terrible to imagine all of that wasted potential. To get back to what we talked about earlier, that wasted potential. There's so many talented artists, musicians, physicians, scientists, motivational, the whole gambit,
right?
Who are Black, and how much more of that culture could have been, even more influential. It's a real shame, but we're growing. And so I think that's.
And I said, the conversations are started. And like I said, I have a lot of friends that are tired because they're the one, they're that one mom or they're that one friend for a lot of people. And so a lot of people have inundated them with text messages and phone calls and stuff. And it's too much for them. And I get that. But for me, I get, because I grew up this way and I was always explaining things to everybody because one, my dad is from the islands and then my mom is from the US. Mm-hmm. So on one hand, my dad he's a foreigner. We're first generation on his side of the family. So I had to explain my dad because he didn't do things the same and he didn't sound like everybody else. And
right.
So I'm used to teaching and talking to people about it, but other people are not. And they're like, I don't care to do this.
Yeah.
And so I said, but at least the conversation is there and people are listening. I was speaking to somebody and they called us colored and I'm like, oh, no, you can't do that. And so then, and you explain and they're like, okay. And so then they won't do it again.
Yeah.
Now they know, but they didn't know. And if you don't know, you don't know. And so now they know, don't do that. Somebody else said someone called them Negroes. No, we don't call them that either. Like,
yeah.
different. But, if you don't know, you don't know. I prefer Black to African American because I remember when I'm not going to say who it was, but I'm pretty sure I know who it was. But all of a sudden, announcement was made that we were going to be African American. That was in my lifetime. And my mother and I looked at each other and I was like, huh? And she goes, you don't have to. And I was like, thank you. And so I am a Black woman and I say Black. I don't say African American.
And not everyone's African American, right?
I'm going to say, my dad, God love him, he will tell you he's not African American. He's like, no. Now, the other thing is in med school, we were talking about keloids and sickle cell. Two things common in Black people.
Right.
Well, one student who's not Black raises his hand and tried to correct the teacher. Now, mind you, we're sitting there. I'm sitting there. There was like 3 other Black students. We're all sitting there. None of us said anything. So why are you saying anything? So he goes to correct the teacher and say African American. The teacher goes, no, actually, it's Black people. Black people that live anywhere have a high susceptibility to having sickle cell trait and having keloids. And that shut him up.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're sitting right here. Why wouldn't we have said something?
Yeah, no, it's a ridiculous story, but it's true. I mean, I think the point you're making with like the fact that people are starting to open up to actually listen, and that's such a good, I think a lot of people acted like they listened and then they would start to make statements. And I think the actual patience to be like, oh crap, I am saying things that maybe, that community would not appreciate. Like there's a different way I could say things that makes everyone feel mutually respected. Like, so trying to sort of wrap your brain around that. I think people are really doing that. So I'm very hopeful. So we'll see. We could go on and on about this. This is not a 10-minute conversation. This is an ongoing, developing conversation well beyond us, obviously. Is there any thoughts that you'd, in terms of this topic, is there anything that you'd want to share with, not just physicians, but just people in general?
Please understand Black Lives Matter is Black Lives Matter because all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. And so that's why we say Black Lives Matter. I am not saying, especially as physicians, we're not saying we're not going to treat anybody but Black people. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that Black lives need to matter so that everyone does matter because you're eliminating an entire population of people. And, other countries, we need to pay attention because other countries are not racist like the U.S. When I go travel overseas, I don't see or nor do I have the troubles that I have here. And so that's the other thing is that I tell people that this is a problem for Black people that are in the United States. Not saying that there isn't racism anywhere else, but here it is just, I swear the whole country was built on it and it's just ingrained in this country. And it's unfortunate. And that's why things need to change. That's why change has to happen. And so people who want to keep saying all lives matter, understand why we're saying Black Lives Matter and what it means. And that we're not being racist or anything. We're just saying that we're tired of our lives not being worth anything.
Right.
And that we're, second-class citizens, They just had voting the other day in Georgia, and it was very skewed on purpose. Again, this is not the first time, And so they gave all this difficulty to the Black neighborhoods for their voting. All of that is unfair. And if you want to argue that the Constitution, yes, the Constitution is great for white people, but the Constitution kind of left us out. And so that's why people are so passionate and so, I think they're just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And for once, people are listening. So and I hate to tell people, but the Montgomery bus boycott, they said was 380 something days.
Wow.
So can you imagine these people were not taking the bus to work all that time. They cooperatively got together and collaborated and, got themselves rides and walked. But 380 something days. And I only say that to say, this isn't going to go away next month or next week. It's just not going to go away like that. This is going to be until change happens. People are going to keep having this conversation.
100%. And I think the underlying issue psychologically is just essentially that we're all humans. Humans are human. And the color of your skin, it affects how you're perceived, but we all have whatever you want to call it, a soul, whatever your belief system is. We all have something.
Yeah.
And that's important. And if you can look at someone and realize that connection of a person who has different like characteristics, then we can get somewhere. But if you just look at them and you create a screen of judgment and all those things, as you know, again, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, but you know, then we have issues. The other thing you mentioned too, the Constitution. I watched this documentary about the 13th Amendment.
That was very good.
And on Netflix. And again, like we have so many resources now of education. I'm not ingrained in the culture. I have a lot of learning about Black history. And so I watched that documentary about how people, you know, slavery was a thing before, but people are still kind of enslaved, and Black people, especially in the prison system.
Yeah.
And I watched this. I'm like, I can't believe this is actively happening. And I'm like, wait a second. Like, and then, you know, so then I'm realizing how much cognitive bias I have because I don't know the history of a culture. And so, you know, I'm talking and bringing about this stuff up. So anyone listening, you know, takes a second, be like, wait, do I really know the history of Black history in America? Wait, maybe I don't. And then you watch it like, crap, I'd be pissed too, you know?
Because the thing is, we didn't come here willingly. We didn't come here freely. We were brought here. And I've seen so many people, because I swear it's because of the occupant. That's what I call the man in the White House. So I think it's because of the occupant. People just feel that they can say and do whatever they like. So people are very bold. And people have said stuff like, you know, you were enslaved before. That wasn't that long ago. We can do it again. Could you not do stuff like that? Because what if somebody's child saw that, you know?
Yeah.
Because you're posting this on the internet. You know, just little things like that. It's like, oh my God, if you're going to be that way, because I do understand racists are going to be racist. It doesn't matter how many times we have the conversation. Do that in your house.
Yeah.
Kitchen table talk. Don't post it online where everyone can see.
Yeah.
Because children can read. My little cousin is 4 and he reads perfectly fine. And if he saw that, he would read that and he would know. And then he would ask his mom, what are they talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. It is, it's, you know, all this is very tricky, but, you know, like we're saying, this is bringing a very important topic to light. And it's a conversation we're all going to keep having. You know, Dr. Renee, I've had you on. It's been super interesting. It's been really fun. I've learned, you know, your career. I've learned your process. I've learned about your creativity. We've talked about Black Lives Mattering, and it's always mattered. It still matters now. We're going to continue to make it matter. You know, I'm going to leave this open to you. We got a moment here for you to, is there anything you feel like we didn't talk about that I didn't ask you? You can do a little promo to your work. Is there anything you wanted to just, you know, let people know about?
You can follow me everywhere at Ask Dr. Renee, AskDrRenee. So I'm on YouTube, Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And I work with a lot of great brands. And so you can find all of that stuff on my website. But my favorite brand actually Thinks Period Panties. I work with them. You get $10 off with my link, shethinks.com/Renee. And Thinks came out with a statement, and they came out with a Instagram post. They were the first ones I saw as soon as this happened. They had a text number, text Floyd to that number, and you could sign the Color of Change petition on police brutality, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. But then they sent a letter to their entire email list, which is all of their customers, and then they sent a letter to us that work with them. But they handled it so well and so quickly, and I think all companies need to be like Thinks. They need to be like Ben & Jerry's. They need to look at these people who are doing it right and model that, because if you're silent, it's not good for your business. I'm telling you, if you might be the most racist human being as a CEO, but if you actually want to make money and make payroll, you probably want to make certain that you hire somebody, Black preferably, or diversity inclusion firm, and make sure that you get your statement correct so that you say something. Because when you say nothing, that makes you very complicit, and you do not want to be put in that category.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. We're going to have a lot of your links in the show notes.
Awesome.
I'm super excited again to have you. I would love to have you on again. We'll talk some more soon. You have a great personality. You have a great energy. I love what you're doing, and I appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you.
And that's the episode for today. I want to thank you so much for listening to the Happy Doc podcast. Again, this is a podcast that is going to inspire you as a physician, as a health professional, as an individual to be fulfilled in your life. So please look out for the other episodes in the Happy Doc. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a 5-star review on the podcasting application of your choice. You can also reach out to us by emailing thehappydoc1@gmail.com. I'll see you on the next episode.